Cossack squats are a great mobility exercise to work on the hips as well as ankle flexibility, and it builds strength in a frontal plane, so a lateral motion. Most squats and lunges are all done on the sagittal plane, whereas we're staying on the frontal plane and going side to side. They differ from side lunges, but it is a progression from a side lunge. So if you struggle with the side lunge, this is something that you can work up to. As always, I'm going to give you some variations to make things a little bit easier and more accessible, as well as some progressions for a more advanced variation. So I'm going to show you the basic move, break it down, and then give you some of those options. So we start wide and then we open up the toes and come down. Same thing on the other side. Now, if you have a slightly limited range of motion, then you're not going to go as far. If you've got quite good ankle and hip mobility, then you can go a little deeper. Now, I find I like to go quite wide in this position. You want to keep your knees in the same direction as your toes on this bending leg. So always when you're starting the movement, unlike a side lunge where you might have your feet parallel, you do want to have your toes turned out with this, only in a position where the knees can come in that direction. You don't want the knees turning in. That's going to put a lot of pressure on them. So I like to go quite wide because I know that I can sink quite low, but do play around with your position. So here I'm going to come down. If you feel your heel is lifting, don't go as low. Ideally, we want to keep the heels on the floor for this. So I'm going to sink down. Now I can keep my foot on the floor, or I can take the toes to the ceiling. It's kind of personal preference. I like the toes to the ceiling position. If that's a struggle for you in terms of ankle mobility, what you can do is find something that's sloped or even a yoga block to help you comfortably elevate that heel, just to take off some of that pressure so that you can sink down in a supported way. And again, up to you whether you want to have the toes to the ceiling or the foot flat. So you might find, if you're already playing around with this, that it's difficult to balance, which is one of the good things about this. It challenges your stability. You want to avoid going backwards. So think about reaching forward. You can actually physically do this. So reaching forward with your arms, and it might even help to have a small weight that you hold in front of you just to help counteract that temptation to go backwards. So reaching out in front is something that you might see people doing. Okay, so that's our basic Cossack squat. You're starting in a wide leg stance and you're bending down and coming back up. You can alternate sides, or you can go for, say, 10 reps on one side and then 10 on the other. If you're wanting to progress this, one of the things that you can do is stay low and go from side to side. That's more of a challenge in terms of your mobility and stability. So for example, I'm low on one side and then I'm staying low and then just transferring the weight. So rather than going up and then down, I'm staying low. And as you build up the reps, you really are going to feel this in the lower body. If you want to progress it in another way, then add some weight. Easy at home option, get a dumbbell or a kettlebell, just hold it in a goblet position and just keeping it at chest height. Or if you feel comfortable with that, you could always take a barbell And again, just do the position and movement as normal with the barbell on your shoulders. So that's the Cossack squat. Let me know if you've tried it before, if you'd like to give it a go. If even with that raised heel, it still feels quite challenging, what you can do is elevate that bent leg. So you're kind of easing into it, and you can elevate the other leg or foot to go a little bit deeper. You could actually do that with a TRX, popping your foot in the stirrups to give an extra stability challenge too. Let me know how you get on. Pop how you found it in the comments, and I will see you soon.